See, now they're putting stress on my load. And they should have just left it alone. But that's what happens when you have people that think they know what they're doing and they don't. So it happens. You get more experience in doing this, you're going to find out what your work radius is and where you need to have your chain and hook and block at all times. Prevents you from having an unexpected stop to happen. This crane has multiple gears and their percentages. They're not really gears. You have 100%, 75%, 50%, and 25%. And it allows you to catch your swing gradually and easily, where you don't have a abrupt stop. I forget what they call it, but these Potane and Recon do not have you can't torque the tower, is what I'm trying to say.
Pioneer. Pioneer, welcome.
A good rig, a good signal person will never allow you to, they'll never have your, well, they'll always put your block in the middle of the load. If you're just cutting your teeth in this business, you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. You'll definitely experience it, and you probably need to. This way you can appreciate a good signal person and appreciate a bad one. Or I should say, not appreciate a bad one. But you will definitely experience it. I've had really terrible signal people, and I've had really good ones. This guy here is probably my second best signal person I've ever worked with. What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't do that. Jesus fuck. Excuse my language. There you can see they were actually trying to pull the load over to the middle, and that's not where I'm putting the load. They think they, once again, people think they control the crane and what it's going to do and how it's going to do it. You get people that just don't have a clue about cranes, and I really wish that NCCCO and NCCCR would make people get Rig and SIG certified through them, because people have no idea about load dynamics. The crane is going to do what I tell it to do by my hand controls and my eyes, my eye contact with the load, and that's all I can do. When you have someone who's trying to control your load, you have to control their crane and try to control what they're doing at the same time. So you're doing multiple counter swings, and you're doing multiple trolley in, trolley out, and multiple hoisting and lowering of the load, trying to compensate for what they're trying to do, because you have your mind set on what you're trying to do. So try to eliminate that by having communication with them, even if it's doing it harshly sometimes, because you only get one shot at this, and you don't want to mess up. So you definitely don't want to put yourself in a position where you can have someone put you in a bad position. So a lot of responsibility comes with this. This isn't a hard business to get into, but how you operate a crane is everything. You know, if you don't have a sense of how to operate equipment, this is probably not the business for you. And I'm not trying to sound harsh or nothing, but I operated many pieces of equipment before I got to this stage in life. All different types of industrial equipment before I ever started operating cranes. But running a tower crane is a lot different than running a mobile crane. Mobile cranes have a little bit different dynamic. It's kind of the same, but it's a little bit different dynamic. You know, what I mean by that is, on a mobile crane, you're down on the ground. You can actually you can literally get out of the crane and go touch the load. When you're in a tower crane, you're putting a lot of trust in somebody to rig it correctly and do their job to the ability you want them to do it. So it's having good relationship with your rig and SIG people, and sometimes you have to be you got to be very blunt, very forward. You can't beat around the bush, and you need to tell them exactly what you need them to do. And you better know what you're talking about, because if you don't, it's going to show. It's definitely going to show if you don't know what you're doing, because they're not going to have a clue what to do if they don't know what they're doing, because they're relying on you to give them direction. That's why I'm hoping there's a time that here in the near future that people that work in this construction field, whether it be building residential places like this is a commercial residential area that we're in. It's a big residential, so it's not real small, you know. It's a commercial residential building we're building, but in the concrete and rebar field as well, when you're building big hotels and stuff like that. I just feel that it would be a lot safer industrial wise, and on the on the heavy residential industrial side, that people are NCCCO and NCCCR certified. No third-party certifications. A lot of knowledge gets lost in third-party certification. It just is basically a crash course of what not to do. If you're a person who's watching this video or any of the videos on Tower Crane Television and you're trying to get knowledge into this industry and you're going to get a license, I highly suggest that you get a Rig and SIG certification as well through NCCCR or NCCCO. It protects you. You can spot someone rigging something wrong right away if you have that knowledge. So once again, you can see that guy up there with his hand trying to tell me where he wants to load, but I'm going to put it where I want to. I always do, just on this parking garage. Like I said, if you're watching this and you have a question about anything, I'll try to answer it best of my ability. If you leave it in the comments, I'll either answer it in the comments or I'll answer it in the next video. I will say, anybody watching this and say, "Oh, that looks easy," it's a lot more than just pulling levers. It's knowing your max weight. It's knowing your distance. It's knowing your limitations, what you can and cannot do, and processing all of that at the same time. The LMI computer I showed you earlier is a little bit of a cheat sheet to help you evaluate what you're doing, but that's all it is. It's just a helper. It's not what it's not what gives you the knowledge to do this. I would say the most gratifying part of this job is climbing down the tower at the end of the day and looking at the progress that's been made and knowing that you had a hand in it. You know, that you helped build the process of the structure that you're building. And the finished product is the coolest thing. You know, to see that you had a hand in building a finished product. And that's the coolest part of the job. Like I said before, I've been in construction for 23, 24 years now, and I've had other jobs when I was a welder in a millwright where you get complacent and tired of it, and it becomes an actual job. And this job, I never get complacent. I'm always challenging myself with every lift, on the practice of catching your swing. Working with people sometimes that are hard to work with, and you have to learn to adapt. You definitely have to be a chameleon in this business, and try to adapt to what people are trying to do. So turn it, turn it, turn it, turn it. So, yeah, I mean, no. Don't pull on it. Turn it. There you go. So it's just trying to, you know, you're always trying to finesse on this job. So it's very gratifying. I really enjoy it. There's a new challenge every day. I mean, you may do the same thing every day, picking up like this kind of stuff and moving it, but there's always a challenge. And always trying to be better than your last pick. You know, you're always trying to do it better. So there's a lot of weather situations that come into running a tower crane. Wind and rain and lightning is a big one. There's certain rules and regulations you have to follow when it comes to severe weather, and you know, you can't just always climb down the crane. It's sometimes it's not convenient to do that, and you have to ride it out. So, and you got to know how to deal with those situations. So, and not crack under pressure, because it can be very stressful to be in a tower crane when the weather conditions are hazardous, you know, to a point. You got to know when to say when and know when to shut the crane down, and you're the captain. You know, you're the captain of this ship, and you can't let someone try to dictate when you can and cannot run the crane. when the rules were made for these cranes, tower cranes, I'm speaking strictly for tower cranes. Mobile cranes have the same rules and regulations too. They vary. They might be a little bit different, but they're basically the same. But you got to know when to say when on weather and lightning. Like I said, there's rules and regulations that follow that, and so yeah, there's a lot of, this job can be very stressful sometimes, just due to other people's attitude on how they address rigging and signaling and trying to dictate what your crane is going to do, and you have a set way of doing things. So like I said, you have to adapt. You can't be completely stubborn and not try to do what someone else is wanting you to do. You got to learn to meet them halfway. And if you can do that and do it successfully, you'll be a great crane operator. Learning to adapt in those situations and knowing your limitations. You know, you don't ever want a mishap to happen. You'll have little bumps in the road, but that's anywhere. In construction, you're building something new, so you'll have little bumps in the road. But you know, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that everyone is safe and yourself is safe, and that you're doing it to the best of your ability. I read a lot of information on cranes every chance I get to further my knowledge in the crane industry, and always try to be a step ahead. So I think if you can always challenge yourself in this particular trade, you'll always do well, because you're always bettering yourself in how you operate. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you look like or where you come from or your color or your religion or anything like that. If you're a good operator, you're a good operator. You know? And if you're a bad operator, people are going to talk about you. If you're a good operator, people are going to talk about you. So it's a double-edged sword, you know. going on there, senorita?
Hi, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó?